our final instructor, Ashley Sullivan from Houston, Texas, with her husband, George. Has been training Arnis for 20 years with Master Ed Kwan from Houston. And she's teaching in Clear Lake in Texas, and we're looking very much forward to the last lesson that we have, and it is obstruction removal, 2 forms and follow-ups. And Ashley, it's your 15 minutes, which start now.
Thanks for having me, you guys. As Dieter said, I'm Ashley Sullivan from Clear Lake Modern Arnis, and today I'll be doing obstruction removal. First, we'll start out doing obstruction removal from trapping hands, because most of the time you're walking around, you don't normally have a weapon unless you live in Texas. And those of you who train with me know that I always carry at least 4. So if you're lucky enough to live here, we can do that. If the poor people overseas can't do that because of their laws, then come to Texas. We like people. So today we're going to be doing empty hand, the application first with the empty hand, and then we'll be doing applications with the stick to show the transition. So to start off, we'll do trapping hands. So George will punch forward with his right hand as a straight punch. So he'll punch, I'll block, I'll check, and then I'll counter. One more time, he punches, I block, so I'm blocking with my right hand on top. The left hand is going to come under, and then I'm going to do a back fist to counter. I want to point out something on the back fist. When I'm doing this technique, I want to make sure that my wrist is in front of my elbow, because if it's not, I'll get countered. So if I try to cock back like this, George is going to counter me. Don't do that. So instead, I'm going to go block, check, counter. I'm coming in, I'm driving in. If he blocks, then I'll do my obstruction removal. If he doesn't block, which is what I prefer, I'm just going to smack him right upside the head, right? 1 hit, we're done. He goes unconscious. So I block, check, counter. Oh no, he blocked me. So what I'm going to do at this point is what we call obstruction removal. As soon as he touches my hand, I'm going to touch his hand. So I'm going to go from this position of his arm, and I'm going to slap his hand down my forearm. So we'll change positions. So I'll go block, check, counter, down. One more time, slower. Block, check, counter, down. So this strike here is very important. There's a timing element here. There's also a distribution of power element here. This is not a push. This is not a press. It is a slap or a heavy check. My objective is to move this arm in the same position. Turn just about like that. There, good. Turn just down my elbow. See the direction of my elbow? Doing that gives me the most advantageous angle because of my body size. 1, 2, 3, and down. So you notice the next piece, which is the strike. I was trying to defend myself and then also hit him back in the first place. He blocked. I pushed that off, and then he comes forward. Warning before we get too much into it. Do these drills with care. There's a lot of body mechanics here that until you do it a few times, you may not understand. When I touch this hand, watch the position, watch what his head does. It comes forward. When we transition to the sticks later, it becomes even more important. For now, I just want to make sure I don't accidentally, bam, smack my partner in the forehead. You want your partner to stick around for a little bit so you can keep training with them. So don't knock them out when you're doing your first drill. One more time. 1, 2, 3, down. So that's obstruction removal on the forehand side. We also have obstruction removal, empty hand on the backhand side. So if he throws a backhand punch, again, I'm going to step out of the way. Both hands comes up. If you prefer not to do a two-handed block, you can block with the right, then the left. A lot of times, the longer you do this, your hands move at a faster speed, and it looks like you're doing it two-handed, when in fact you're really doing right and left. So from this position, I'm still wanting to strike him in the head. So I'm going to step around and strike him, attempt to strike him in the temple. So what I'm aiming for is right here. Open hand, right in the temple. That'll come into more play when we transition into it. So I step out, left foot forward, block, check, counter. Okay? One more time. Block, check, counter. So if you notice, this time his hand is in a different position. You know, see his hand? I can't do the same check I did before. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one unit between my wrist, my elbow, my shoulder, and my hip. This now becomes one unit, and I'm going to turn with my hip 90 degrees to turn this hand through. One more time, from the other side. Block, check, counter, and turn. The one unit is very important. If you try to do this technique with just your upper body, it's not going to work. I'm going to push as hard as I can. It's not happening. But if I join my wrist to my elbow, to my shoulder, to my hip, and I use my core to turn, I could do this on Deer, and y'all know how strong he is. So from this position, I'll do the obstruction removal. So I've turned his body. My left hand will come under. I'll brush this off, and then I'll strike. So one more time. Block, check, counter, one unit, turn, remove, strike. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we can take the obstruction removal from empty hand to stick. The stick gives us multiple advantages. It hurts me less to hit somebody with this. I think that's a big advantage. It also gives me distance. I can touch him from here. If he didn't have a stick, he couldn't touch me. So from the forehand side, we're going to transition the trapping hands into slice block. So we'll slice, grab, strike. So from here, I'm trying to put the puño on his forehead. I'm going to make him a unicorn. I'll put it right there. So again, he strikes one, I do a slice block, I grab, and I place. Now, I say place because we're partners and we're training. What I'm really trying to do is I'm really hoping this big dude who just tried to hit me with a stick doesn't block that. I'm going to take this puño and embed it in his head, and we'll be done. I will get to go home safely, and he's the one who attacked me, so I don't really care. So I do a slice block, 1, 2, 3. Oh no, he blocked me. I'm going to do the exact same drill that I did empty hand. I'm going to take my checking hand. I'm going to do a heavy check down my forearm. Now, if you notice his forehead, it moved again. Be very cognizant in these drills. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's for a reason. Those of us who've done this before know, please don't knock out your partner because it can happen. So do this with caution. Don't just drop both hands. Drop the hand, cautiously do the stick. If you're out on the street and this happens to happen, you know what to do. Your body is going to take over and the adrenaline is going to kick in and you're going to do this at one time and you'll be like, why are you on the ground? So one more time from the forehand side, slice block, obstruction removal. So from the backhand side, it's a whole lot easier because we don't have to cross our hands. So he strikes this side, I step, and I do block check. Stick, stick, hand to hand. From here, I'm going to step forward with my right foot, and I'm going to try to plant my puño in his ear. So if we turn around this way, I'm trying to plant my puño right there, bam, right in his ear. But he blocks me, and that's okay because I know what to do. Again, I'm going to make one unit between my wrist, my elbow, my shoulder, and my hip, and I'm going to turn this direction. Then I'm going to pull this off, and then I'm going to strike. The follow-up strikes are your preference. We have a whole plethora of strikes that we've done this morning. Pick your favorite. So again, from the backhand, I block check, I step in, I do my pull through, and the pull through is a lot more visible with the stick. You can clearly see my puño direction is 90 degrees down. I pull off, and then I strike. So those are the two main obstruction removal positions. And we can go from here. How much time do I have left, Peter? 5 minutes? Okay. Let's do an application. So you've tried the obstruction removal. Well, first of all, Mr. Muggerman tried to punch you. You tried to hit him, he blocked. You tried to do obstruction removal, it didn't work. So what do you do next? So one thing that we can do on the forehand side is a wrist wrench. So we do block, check, counter, we grab here, and then we do the wrist wrench. Now, just like the warning before, you want to be sure that you do these very smoothly. Don't jerk your partner around. These can cause injury pretty fast, and we don't want to break our partner because we want to train with them. So we block, check, counter, and I'm going to bind. I'm going to take this hand and press it in this way, and this hand's going to press this way, creating a binding motion and turning the wrist in a position it doesn't want to be in. Again, it's important to have the wrist in front of the elbow, and then I come in this way. And you can see by his body position, it did not feel very good. So that's called the wrist wrench. I grab on the bottom and I wrench the wrist. The next one is called the center lock. Block, check, counter. Now this time I'm going to bind on top. I'm going to press this hand in as I'm pressing my forearm into the other side. I'm then going to take my elbow over the top and drop down. This one is a little bit easier. We've all done a lot of center locks, I'm sure. So we're going to bind, and down. And you can see again by his body positioning, it doesn't feel very good. So he punches, bind, down. So when I'm doing the downward motion, again, I'm not using my upper body. I'm using my core. So when I come here, I'm in a solid position. I'm going to bind, and then I'm going to come across, and I'm going to drop my body. I say again a lot because I want to make sure you don't hurt your partners. Again, don't rock your partner. Be smooth and fluid. Or you'll snap the wrist, and it doesn't feel very good. So that's on the forehand side. I'll go ahead and show two on the backhand side. So on the backhand side, we do the same block check, and then I'm going to come in and strike. Now again, oh no, my timing was off. My partner is much bigger than me, stronger than me, whatever. He grabbed, I can't do this. Even if I use my hips, it's not happening. What do? I go with the flow. So now instead of trying to push him at a 90, I'm going to step that way. I'm going to go this direction. Now I've extended his arm, which means I can move this. That's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass this over, switch hands, and I'm going to do an arm bar by taking my forearm and placing it just above his elbow. So if we do that from the other side, again, this is on the back end. I block check, strike. Oh no, I can't do the 90-degree obstruction removal. I'm just going to step and pass and do the arm bar. Also from the backhand side, we can do compress elbow. Compress elbow or cane elbow takedown is a little more complex, but it's totally doable. So he strikes the backhand, I block check. I step out again, oh no, I can't do the 90. That's okay. So instead of taking the forward 45-degree angle, I'm going to take the rear 45-degree angle. So I'm going to pass this direction. If you notice, the 90 is this way, okay? The 45 to the back is this way. See how it's much easier for me to manipulate his body? So I'm going to pass down. Take your left hand on top, shadow all the way around. The right hand comes up. My palm is down, his palm is up. Place that on my deltoid or my shoulder, depending on arm length, and then place both elbows on, or both hands on top of his elbow. That is cane elbow takedown without the stick. So one more time. Block check, strike, back 45, pass, shadow, place. It's very important that his palm is up. You want the back of his hand on your arm. That means that his elbow is up. If his hand is here and I try to do this, it's a different technique. He can bend. I could show more painful things. We don't have time. So just make sure that his palm is up, that the back of his hand is on either your shoulder or your elbow. Both hands go on the elbow and then gently down. Once again, I'm not doing this with my upper body. If you notice, I'm using my core. I'm going to come from this position and I'm going to turn my hips to make him drop down. This can be used for a full takedown if you like, or you can do a shock, kick him in the face, and then go. So we'll do the kick him in the face. Okay. So you block, you pass, you shadow, and then you come down. So as he's coming down, knee him or kick him in the face. Jackie with her short little legs, she'll end up kicking. Love you, Jackie. But those of us who are a little taller may be able to actually get the knee. So all of these techniques, again, can be done with the stick. If we still have time.
Okay,
So,
it's the last thing, okay, Ashley?
Okay, last thing. We'll do it real quick.
It's all right. Just do this one and then we're done.
Okay. So we'll do the slice block here. So earlier we did wrist wrench first. So we'll do the exact same thing. We'll bind in and then we'll do the rotation. Again, coming from the hips. Wrist wrench, block, check, counter, bind, turn. So from the other side. Slice block. Oh no, he blocked I can't do obstruction removal. Bind and turn. So from this, with the sticks, you can also do center lock. This time we bind on top, bind, elbow comes over, and then down. The only difference is I have the stick. On this side, not a huge difference on the forehand side. You'll see more of the stick application on the backhand side. So he strikes the backhand, I step out of the way, I block check, I do this. Now, for the first one, which was the arm bar, I'm going to do the same step and pass. From this position, I now have two options because of the stick. I can use my forearm as I did before, or I can use the stick. If you choose to use the stick, be sure that your hand is very close to the elbow because you have more leverage. It doesn't work if you do it down here because the body mechanics don't work for that. So again, block check, pass, and arm bar. From the other side. Back in strike, pass, and arm bar, or stick. And then the final one that we did was cane elbow. Now we can show you the cane part. Back in strike, come in here, I'm gonna pass, I'm gonna shadow, switch. On top, and now you see why it's called cane elbow. Take it, cane elbow. Not super creative naming, but it's descriptive. Back in strike, lock, pass, around, and on top. Now, if you notice, when my stick transitioned on the bottom, I could have struck, but in this case, for the illustration, I chose not to. So if you want to strike in between, you're going to come in here, you're going to shadow, you're going to strike, and then loop around. If you're trying not to hurt your partner, you can let your tip cautiously and consciously dip, because we don't want to just have loose sticks, but you can let it dip down as to not, bam, bondo your partner in the stomach before you add insult to injury and take them all the way down.
All right, Ashley, thank you very much taking George out of the picture. Thanks very much. That was very enjoyable.